We do that. I also want to do the patch notes rundown because I saw that Mort Dog, the most consistent content creator in all of Teamfight Tactics, Mort Dog TFT, dropped a latest banger, aka TFT 14.2 patch notes rundown. So I wanted to watch that together, kind of react a little bit, and see what's coming up for TFT. Shall we?
Hey, everybody.
All right, so I'm gonna put myself in top, I guess. Boom. Does this work? Am I recovering? I'm gonna be covering up text or no? My son just got over 1. I hope you'll enjoy the ride. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Man, I'm gonna teach my kid all the toxic comms. He's gonna be playing like Annie reroll when she's busted. He's gonna be like rerolling. Let's see. Everyone says Punk is gonna be so good next patch. We'll see. She'll be a Punk. She'll be a Jinx one trick or heal rather.
14.2 rundown. So we're just coming off of.
All right, let's go ahead and watch this.
Which was a pretty big patch. It's been 2 weeks. Probably don't want to do a massive shuffle up after that. That being said, there's definitely a few things that are kind of strong. Few things that still aren't living up to their expectations.
Few things that are too strong. Like fair enough. That is true.
The big thing is we've got 3 reworks here to finally get some champions in a healthy spot.
3 reworks.
Rather than talk.
Also, let me know if more sound. Actually, let me put them up to let me put up to max on my end, and then I can like adjust it. So let me know if it's too loud or it's good. I don't want to be talking. I don't want to be talking around. Over more. I'd rather be talking around him, and then also reacting to like whatever I see.
All right, first up on the Portal side, Silver Symphony and Decrescendo have been removed. This should be pretty obvious why, but basically, we like Recombobulator as an
I am covering part of it.
Fun augment, and if you're in the situation where Recombobulator is a great play, it's a cool thing. What we don't like is when you know Recombobulator has a high chance of appearing, and then you play around it. It's pretty unhealthy. And both of these portals turn into the 4-2 who can prep for
kidding. All right, let me change this
lottery. So we're not really a big fan of that. So both of these portals are going to go away. You won't be seeing them again. Recombobulator will still exist at 4-2. And it works out anyway because Silver Symphony was like the 3rd least picked portal. Decrescendo was only popular because it had a prismatic opener.
Okay,
so
I got
they can both go away. Cruel Pact can no longer be offered in the Radiant Blessing portal. It turns out in the Radiant Blessing portal, if you get your Radiant Blessing at 2-1, it's pretty good. Probably too good. Fix that. All right, headliners.
All right.
This is probably the biggest change of the patch.
Okay, real talk. Is anyone actually going to miss the Recombobulator stuff? Probably not, right? Good change. I don't really like playing for Recombob 4-2. I know that it's an out to play for, and it can create some pretty big moments, but like I think we've seen enough like 3-star 3 cost turned into 3-star 4 cost. Although I want to show you guys one really funny thing. Let me see, reddit.com/r/teamfight tactics. I saw something, the caption was, LMAO, this game is so good. All right. LMAO, this game is so good. There's a player that picked Recombob. Hold on, can I see this image? A player took Recombob as his 3rd silver augment. And look what happened. That's right, nothing. His 3-star Urga and 3-star Samira didn't transform. Because all the 4 costs were out of the pool, so none of them could actually transform into 3-star 4 costs. He actually turned his 4 cost into a Lucian too, but that was it. Anyways, I thought that was funny. It's silly that Recombob actually doesn't even work if you don't have enough 4 costs in the pool. Apparently, like there were like too many 4 costs being pulled out, so nothing happened. I just thought that was really funny. Anyways, Recombob, you won't be missed. Going on to the next point here.
If you want really good detailed stuff, you can read my post on Reddit about this. But basically, there are 2 things changing with headliners that most players won't have to worry about, but some of the most insane challenger players might have to. First off, we fixed an issue that blocked units that shared a trait with previously offered headliners.
Yes.
What this means is, if you saw a
this bug was so annoying.
Yone in your shop,
so annoying.
You could not see any of the Heartsteel headliners or any, like it would block off all the wrong headliners. It was kind of a bug. It created a lot of problems. So that's bad. That's gone. Fix that bug.
Okay.
Second thing is we removed the ability to affect headliner distribution by buying a headliner. If you've ever watched my stream before, you might have seen like, oh, I see a Sentinel Cassante, but I really want the Heartsteel Cassante.
So you can't
I
buy sell anymore?
The Cassante and I sell it. That doesn't do anything anymore. There's no weird trickery. It was a dumb hidden rule that caused more confusion than it should have. So that's gone.
Okay.
Both of these changes should help simplify the invisible rules of the headliner and just make it kind of feel more natural. So
Okay, so this is actually kind of a big deal because this ends up making it so that you can't really like manipulate odds anymore when you're roll down. I will say the fact that this was a thing was kind of silly. Like buying and selling was it just felt like such a overly complicated min max that just like was an APM check, but like also not even really a meaningful decision. You're just supposed to like buy sell, and then you lost gold for it. I just felt like bad to play around. That being said, this also means that headliner randomness is like jacked up because if like okay, so they fixed the sharing a trait thing, but this does mean that a little bit more RNG, right? Or am I misunderstanding? Like because they fixed both issues, should it be like fine, or is it like? Because one thing that was nice about this headliner distribution rules was that it felt like you had something you could do against headliner variants. But if I'm wrong, just like correct me. I don't mind if I'm wrong on this issue.
So
I don't have a strong opinion. I don't want this to be a thing. Like that you should buy sell to min max.
But basically,
like,
if you never noticed, when you got to your 5 streak,
oh what the heck?
the scoreboard would say 4. Very confusing.
Okay, so like a text fix on
fixing
streaks.
that bug. Scoreboard notifications now display at 5 and 8 wins and show the correct streak length. Cool. Recommended items: AD carry. We took out Edge of Night. Most AD carries don't want Edge of Night. Replaced it with
Okay,
Red
so this is
Buff.
just text buff or
And
text
AD
change.
Casters got replaced. Edge of Night replaced with Red
That makes
Buff,
sense.
and Bloodthirster replaced it with Hand of Justice. This is different than AD Fighter. This is usually your backline AD champions. This should give them better options for things like binary and help teach.
I'm
newer
gonna
players how to
lower volume at this point until he switches.
All right.
Why do you more call the headliner rule a bug? It was bad luck protection, but that was an unintended interaction, so it was a bug.
Power is in the trait late game, but we do want to like knock it down a little bit in the early and mid game. So specifically, the attack speed per tick at 4 and
Whoa,
5
this is a
will
big
get
nerf.
lowered a little bit here. So
Oh,
get
wow.
a little bit less attack speed. Again, this mostly is affecting stage 2 to 4, where you're playing like if you get 4 disco on 2-1, it's very powerful because you have a lot of time. Late game, this trait doesn't do that much. 6 disco at getting its healing nerfed a small amount.
This is actually a pretty big
We don't
deal.
expect this nerf in particular to change that much, other than that early mid game.
Interesting. So more things that this is not going to change that big of a deal. It's that attack speed per tick. I mean, it's one of those things where if you're playing like Rageblade, it like each tick is like a really big deal because it helps you scale faster and whatnot. But I'm actually surprised that they're nerfing. I guess like okay, so 6 disco not being touched kind of makes sense because you want like the vertical of it to feel like it's worth investing into. But I mean, it is nerfing the attack speed and the healing of a trade is like a pretty big deal. So he's right that early mid game disco's too efficient. Like part of the reason why anti-heal is such an important thing because disco just stat checks you in that sense. Like if you don't have anti-heal, you just get completely destroyed. But yeah, okay, the healing tick is actually kind of fine probably because it's a little bit obnoxious, but we'll see. I mean, 5 disco is kind of hard to get online early. So I guess he's talking about the like when you spike like an early Twist of Fate and you have like headliner Nami or something, and then all of a sudden you have 5 disco and then your board becomes immortal if you have like 2 frontline items. It's kind of crazy.
Mosher 6, trying to get Mosher 6 to maybe be something people consider. So Mosher 6 is getting 10% more.
70% attack speed.
And then finally Punk. Punk is
that's a lot.
definitely a comp that does pretty well in low elo. But in high elo, not so much. And again, we really balance around high elo. We want Punk to be something that is considered playing. So the trait is going to get a bit
How
of a
much is
buff here.
Edlord
More
attack
HP
speed?
and AD at its base. Remember, that's multiplied by all the rerolls you do.
Oh,
All right, on the champion
70%
side,
for
to close out
edgelords
the
as well
Punk
as
buffs, Jinx is also getting 5 AD.
as Mosher.
This should make Jinx a little bit more of a threat.
Whoa, they're buffing
Hopefully the
Jinx. They're
combinations of
they're
getting
buffing
5
Jinx AD
AD
and Punk. Oh man, I mean, okay, it's like the base AD stuff is like kind of small for 2 punk.
Yes,
But
remember, that's
I
all
mean,
supplied.
the
And to
5
close
AD
out the
here
punk
is
buffs,
like
Jinx is also getting
is a
5
pretty big
AD.
deal.
This should make Jinx a little bit more of a threat. Hopefully, the combination of these 2 buffs make Punk something that actually can be considered. Cool.
Doesn't this make Punk early game like pretty ridiculous though? If you get like Jinx headliner and you're able to get like Jinx 2, because Vi 2 is actually not even bad either. So if you play like Jinx 2 not headliner, and then you have Vi 2 as a headliner, that can be like really really strong.
Kennen, another champion that kind of fell off the map after the first patch, is meant to be along the lines of champions like, you know, your Olafs and things like that. So Kennen's going to get 50 more HP. Cool. Cassante, a little too good for being a Heartsteel champion.
This is actually
We're gonna lower
a
his
significant
base
buff as
ability damage
well,
reduction a bit.
because this also scales Kennen's Guardian effect, and with Kennen, he's cast timing based. So like if he survives a little bit longer, that means he casts, gets the stun off, which can help chain a bunch of different reactions, and maybe like, you know, it's just one of those survivability things that can be pretty huge.
Cassante
They're nerfing my
right now
boy
is actually kind of in
Cassante.
the top 3 like the early game tanks you want to find. It's a little too good for a Heartsteel champion, so small.
Okay, that's kind of fair. Heartsteel is a little OP.
On the Tukos side, Katarina's another
little
champion
OP.
we haven't seen much of.
That's
So
fair,
she's
I
going to get a
guess.
very small buff to her spell damage. Again, we want to see people maybe considering re-rolling Katarina, playing Katarina in the mid game. The fact that she's 2 range means
3-star got a pretty significant buff.
build a lot of healing to keep
340.
that up. So hopefully this helps Katarina a bit. All right, Kale, our first rework. Let's be real, Kale hasn't really worked as a carry for the most part. Some challenger players have made it work, or will tell you it's a really good
Now
item
passively
carrier.
deals
It's
magic
okay.
damage on each hit.
The problem is late game, the way her
Now
spell works
immediately
is
deals AoE.
she autos 3 times, enters a form, and then for 5 seconds is sort of stuck in that form before she'll do her big finale.
Right.
And the big finale is where a lot of her damage is.
Yeah, the big
Now,
AoE.
she's just going to be in this form passively. So right away, you put in a Kale, her first auto attack does that AoE splash. So she's got that passively.
Okay.
That should be a pretty good buff. Then, after 120 mana, she will do her finale. So that's her spell now. So it's a much simpler design. It's just passive. You have splash on hit, cast, finale. This should open up some more itemization options. You could use her as an item holder for Karthus, make her a little easier to play. If we have to then buff her after this and figure out what the right numbers are, we will. But this should, like I said, make her a little more intuitive to play and easier to play, and possible in the late game. So
okay, so this turns her back into the attack speed carry that most people think, right? Because a lot of people are saying that Kale in general is not necessarily like an attack speed carry. She's an AP carry, and now you actually just want her to get attack speed. I mean, you want her to have both. Maybe it's like Twisted Fate, like Rage Blade and AP, so that way she can like deal a bunch of damage. But for sure, you know, Katarina, you would think actually is a better carry because they buff so much AP items like Death Cap and all the rod items. So this should make Katarina a lot better. So we'll see.
good rework for Kale.
Like maybe Katarina ends up
Lulu.
becoming
Lulu's
viable.
another champion that like people had a lot of high hopes for and might be good after like
Whoa,
pop buffs and stuff like that.
280
She's
to 3.
not
Oh, third
really
cast.
that good.
Okay.
There's a few like
Let me see,
twin
actually. Let me
Terra comps
see.
that are like okay, but we want her better than
280
okay. We
to
want her
360.
good. So she's going to have that third cast where she CCs people, also do quite a bit more damage, actually. So that should be able to chunk some people when she gets to that cast, promoting things like rapidly casting and doing well with Hyperpop. Riven, one of the big melee melee stars of this patch.
This is
very,
big
very
because
well so we're going to lower her a
the
bit.
Twin Terror recently got changed, so maybe Twin Terror Lulu is actually a real thing now. A real thing.
Ability damage just a little bit. Honestly,
I agree. Twin Terror Lulu could be really, really powerful,
so
theoretically.
See how she does. Probably should have given this to her last patch when we buffed.
Good
8-bit.
nerf.
Didn't.
Very
So
big,
she's
actually.
getting
10% of her AD is like pretty huge.
All right, Urgot,
especially
our
how much
second
auto based
rework.
she is.
This is a pretty minor rework, and honestly might not be enough, but we'll keep an eye on it. Basically, when Urgot casts his spell, he begins auto attacking with these like AoE cleaves that are really powerful, especially in stage 2, where they can really just AoE melt people that aren't prepared for it. That's going to be a bit of a nerf.
Okay.
But to trade off, if Urgot ever only hits one target during this, it's now going to do 50% bonus damage. So if you have an Urgot 3 with powerful items and can get on like their tank, it should be doing a lot of damage to melt through it.
Okay, so he should be a better late game carry.
That's not enough. It could be 75, 100%, whatever. But Urgot should now not just get stuck on a single tank. This should help Urgot out a bit. Hopefully makes Urgot 3 something you actually care about.
It also, this is also another Twin Terror thing, which is like, if you have two Urgots and you kind of focus like the way they like, you know how KDA positions tanks, they usually spread them out. Like maybe Twin Terror Urgot's also really good. Also, doesn't this make him even crazier for stage 2? Like this, you're not really okay. Maybe the 15% spell AD. I'm like not really imagining it enough, but like, doesn't this actually make him kind of more insane on stage 2? Doesn't this make him like the best? This might make him the best 3-cost drop early, because if you get 50% bonus damage when everyone else is playing like 3-4 units and early in the game, isn't that kind of crazy? Now he's like the 3-cost that you want out of Norb. I don't know. We'll see.
Vex, probably the bane of this patch. If Vex casts her spell and hits a group of enemies, they all take a metric ton
cut
of
the stun
damage,
duration in
and
half.
if they don't die.
Thank God.
They're also stunned for 1.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Neat. Well, now they're
and
only
you play
gonna be
2 Vexes, you stun for 3 seconds, you stagger them.
Stun. It's still kind of
You have emo, they just spam cast.
But hopefully they can get back to doing their job.
Gosh.
And she does a lot of damage anyway. That's probably enough. So hopefully this also helps out melee carries a lot. But Vex really didn't need to be stunning comps repeatedly, especially when she's got emo active and can then cast a bunch. So hopefully this leads to a slightly healthier Vex. All right, Karthus.
Holy Yu-Gi-Oh card, Batman.
Probably the most confusing rework.
Okay.
So Karthus is this champion that if he casts his first spell and it crits and it hits your backline, you lose, right? 5 seconds into a fight, you probably lose.
If he hits your backline and crits, you lose.
It's not really fun to play against, especially.
Oh, he's describing it right now. He's describing it right now.
Get that Karthus ult. So instead, what we're going to do is Karthus's ability, we're going to remove the randomness out of it. So first off, if Karthus's ability is able to crit, it will.
Okay.
What that means is you're still going to need a Jeweled Gauntlet or 2 Executioner, but as long as you have that, it will crit. The second thing is because of that,
so
obviously you're like, well, now
Executioner Karthus will always crit. I'm with you so far. Now what?
Man, I'm getting more dogged again.
Or worthless. Or why would I ever build crit items? No, crit items will convert to AP. So if you put like a Guard Breaker on, that's also AP. If you put 4 Executioner, more AP.
Oh.
No longer gains mana from kills, so he's not going to like reset and cast 3 times quickly.
1-to-1?
But every time he casts, the spell's
Man, I'm getting more dogged again.
He's going to get 30 AP. So the first cast, not going to hit as hard. Second one might start to catch up.
Right.
Third one,
and then he's just going to cast and cast and cast.
This will start deleting stuff. And the idea here is also, you ever get
Monkey
down to
Res, thank you for the prime.
where it's like Karthus versus 1 or 2 units, but they're tanky, so Karthus can't finish them off? This should help Karthus with that. So
okay, so this is like a math question. This is one of those things where it's like it's like there's just too many changes. His ability got reworked, his mana got reworked, his spell damage got reworked. So it's just like there's just too many things for me to like understand how good it is. The only thing that's scary is Karthus gets bonus AP based on his crit strike chance. If this is like what ends up happening, then Jeweled Lotus might just be like kind of crazy on Karthus. And I wonder if it's one of those things where even it becomes like you just play double Karthus or something, and then by the time that it's almost like he has like Giga Ascension. By the time you get to the second cast or whatever, it's just like he just goes crazy. Also, this might if this ends up being good, then maybe Karthus ends up becoming like a really powerful late game carry, but I'm pretty sure if it sounds as good as it is, it also might be a thing that where like if Karthus gets you get like a Karthus early on stage 2, stage 3, he actually might be kind of good because fights are slow enough for him to ramp up, and you can actually get him to cast a couple times, and he'll just win fights on his own as a 1-star 4 cost. I don't know, like it depends. I actually don't know how good this is yet.
Probably a build with him where it's like Shojin Mana Zane is probably very good on him.
Oh yeah, Zonia's has to be good for sure.
But you can see the base spell damage getting hit significantly here. So again, the expectation is Karthus will be much weaker in the first 10 seconds of the fight. He'll be about the same around the next 10 seconds and should be significantly stronger if you
Rageblade Karthus. I can see it too. Like Rageblade into Karthus to ramp up cast.
Probably gets one of the bigger.
He gets so much AP. He's one of the cast.
He's just doling out a lot of damage, and the fact that he can skip frontliners.
Oh, 120?
You're dead with some random cards. A little too much. So we're slowing down his cast cadence. He'll need one more auto if he's got a Shojin on him.
Oh, that's
and then spell damage is going down about
double big nerfs,
8%ish. So pretty chunky nerf for TF.
Wow.
But he's just proven too strong after getting the attack speed change last patch that made his itemization a lot more dynamic. So.
Okay, so I think one we got those disco buffs, and then now we're nerfing them pretty significantly, and we also had the nerf before the patch shipped. So I'm sure people are gonna come out of the woodworks and just be like, move your cam. Dude, it's kind of hard to say, man, because I move it here. You know what? Maybe I go bottom left. Hold on a second. I'm gonna go bottom left. Boom. All right. Me, tiny Frodan in the bottom left. So I know a lot of people are gonna just be like, XDD didn't more like talk about how disco buff's not gonna be that, or like I guess they retracted some nerfs, and then it was like, disco's not gonna be like crazy OP or whatever. And like disco is like kind of OP. I mean, it is actually S tier. I don't know if it's like S tier enough for it to be like big time nerfs though. I don't. The thing that I'm sad about is that this makes it harder to play Twisted Fate outside of disco. Like if you play them on a roll down, sometimes you legitimately like just play Twisted Fate on your like random because you hit a headliner, and you can play like Dazzler TF, and then you don't have to play disco at all, and because you're like looking for Ari or something like that, and you can just have like Twisted Fate hold something. But yeah, this is actually kind of sad. I actually kind of don't want to nerf TF.
All right, and that's it for champs.
He's kind of cool.
Larger side. Last thing here, Kaisa Headliner. Kaisa Headliner is something we want you to be considering, but right now it's just too weak. It still has the +2 range and the
really
dash,
okay.
But it is going to
maybe Mort's just maybe the meta hasn't caught on, but a lot of people are actually picking Kaisa now. Actually, to be fair, people are playing Bard
and then Yone,
Headliner
the other
in Kaisa.
opposite of Riven.
Not really
Honestly,
Kaisa.
Yone kind of got away with a slap on the wrist here.
This is we'll see though.
But specifically, we're just taking away 5 AD and 50 HP from the Headliner version of Yone. Base Yone not really running away with games, so we're not really that afraid.
Okay, finally a Yone nerf. Okay, so this is all the big
Headliner,
nerfs.
Small nerf here. Should be a little weaker.
Is this actually that big of a deal? I mean, 580% AD is like definitely like 580 is a lot, but this is off. Okay, I mean 580 is a lot, but for some reason it doesn't feel like that big of a nerf.
All right, Twin Terror definitely
maybe I'm wrong.
Of the patch right now. If you get Twin Terror, play around the Vex, especially with Vex being strong, and the Twitch. And the fact that it gave 20% critical strike.
Slap on the wrist, yeah, it's a good description of it. It doesn't feel like that big of a nerf.
It worked really well with Executioners. There were a couple other builds that did okay.
Oh, this is a big buff.
But really, it was the Executioner thing.
This is basically like built different
more
now.
Twin Terror builds can come out.
Wait, let me actually look it up.
The
Built
crit chance is gone.
Different
the HP
3
and the
TFT
are going up. So hopefully this can lead to a lot more interesting Twin Terror builds. I imagine Twin Terror Punk gets get better. The HP also should be really good because we actually
345, 450, 50
right now,
to 80.
Twin Terror, you almost ignore frontliners completely. It's just not enough health to be worth it. So there you go. Bigger shot.
Interesting.
This augment just kind of struggling a bit right now.
I'm willing to give this chance.
Heartthrobs.
They're probably going to buff this though. Again,
simpler.
I would say if I were to guess, I would say they're probably going to buff it a little bit more.
Cash out. Now it's you gain 20% more hearts. This should be a lot more exciting. I imagine people are going to really like this augment.
Wait, they buffed Heartsteel. they nerfed Cassante, but they buffed Heartsteel.
I imagine is going to be a.
I mean, they buffed the augment. It's different.
Last Stand, a little too good for how powerful it was to really seal the deal. Just insane win rate.
Yeah.
It's a light tap here.
But Last Stand's kind of hype, but it is a little too OP. A little too OP.
So should still be good. Submit to the Pit after its rework last patch ended up a little weak. So +1 to all of its stats.
No, Riven got a sizable nerf. The 10% AD is a big deal.
It's a little too good, only a little. So that's why we're giving
they nerfed this one. This one's pretty cool.
40% to 35% should still be good.
It is insane in the data though. The data on it is like really good.
Do very well. Good for something. One gets a small buff to its gold chance drop rate.
Okay.
Late game specialist gets 3 more gold. Woo! That'll change everything. It's a late game specialist meta.
Wait, he said this is a large change from 30 to 33 gold. I mean, it is nice, but like, I mean, 3 gold is nice, I guess. But I'm surprised you put it under large. It seems like a medium-sized change, not really like huge.
On the item side, Goldmancer's Staff just gets out of control if it starts getting kills. I've seen this item drop upwards of 80 gold in the game. That's way too much. So we're gonna cut the gold in half. This is definitely going to nerf.
This is so OP. My God, Goldmancer is just so OP.
Gold from this item. Now that being said,
they're nerfing TG.
40 gold, still a good item, but it probably didn't need to drop that much gold.
Wait a
Gloves.
second.
This is actually a change that
I don't like
should have
this.
came with the level 10 cap. But Thieves Gloves, the way it works is
It's nerfing Heartsteel actually. This is actually like low-key a Heartsteel nerf.
And it turns out when you can go
the free
TGs
TGs you got from Goldmancer was
really
from Heartsteel was way too good.
This is a bit of a nerf to Thieves Gloves. You are less likely to roll ideal items at 7, 8, and 9. If you're interested, I'll post the actual odds, but it's not a huge nerf, but it is a nerf. So Thieves Gloves
nerf to Executioner. That is actually true as well.
All right, on the champion side, we have small changes. Now, again, remember, small changes are things we don't expect to radically change the meta or anything. You probably won't even notice them, but they are small changes to try to get them in a good spot. Corki, kind of been struggling this patch.
Wait, Corki's struggling this patch? I thought he's actually pretty solid. I don't think he actually needed this. They buffed Corki. He actually might be like S tier again, like SS tier again. We'll see. I mean, okay, the reality is now they buffed so many one costs, like Olaf last patch, and Vi and Yasuo's reliable now. Well, I guess they're nerfing Yasuo, but Corki's like really, really good. I don't know, like I guess like maybe because I played a lot of AD, but Corki's not bad at all. I'm surprised that they're buffing him.
He's just not that great of an opener. He's okay. So we're just giving him a little bit more spell damage back. He lost it after the 8-bit buff, but honestly it didn't matter, so giving that back. Lilia getting another 10 mana off her spell should help Lilia. We did 10 last patch as well. Maybe if we do 10 every patch.
I mean, Lilia in general does not feel very reliable.
70. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't think I ever really buy her anymore.
Olaf, now categorized as an AD fighter. This is useful for 2 reasons. 1, it means new players will actually get told the right items what to build on Olaf. And 2, but things like binary airdrop are based off this table, so now you should see
binary. That's what I kind of meant, like a random item signed to him.
Dragon Claw and Bramble Vest. Yasuo is secretly a very good comp if you can get it early. Like
secretly,
currently the best one cost in the game.
EU's obsessed with Yasuo,
which is great. We like that. Just need to tone it down a tiny bit. So the spell is getting a tiny nerf here. Should just hit a little less hard. We still like him stacking. We like when Yasuo gets out of control. It's a good thing. Just tiny nerf. And then Jax struggles a little bit, especially at 1 and 2 star, because normally for Jax to be successful, he's taking a bunch of damage. That's generating a mana. It's causing him to cast, and he's healing back up. But at low levels with his attack speed, he's just not being able to cast quick enough. So we're giving him a little bit more attack speed to allow him to get those casts quicker, come back, and so this should help Jax a tiny bit.
One thing that's kind of hard for me to evaluate in general is how big it is to go from something like 0.85 to 0.9 or like 0.7 to 0.75 for attack speed. But those are actually like very difficult to imagine, like because the AD and the mana stuff like that is much more direct. But this is nice. Jax kind of sucks early game, so I think most people have big Jax.
Another champion kind of struggling.
He is terrible
right now. She's gonna get a small buff to her spell. That spell kind of tickles right now, so we'll do a bit more damage. Ezreal, and yes, before anyone asks, that is 4 big shots that have been buffed. Oh my gosh, it's a big shot meta. Ezreal is getting just the single part of his spell buffed. Obviously, his big ult that like destroys half the board, that's a great ult. We're like where that is, but that single spell just kind of tickles a little bit. So we're buffing that. Hopefully, to allow
buffing Heartsteel again.
Poppy 3 is the weakest 3-star 4 cost in the game right now.
True.
So Poppy 3 is going to be able to heal more per hit.
Nice.
10% of her health instead of 5. Good for Poppy 3. Sona. This is a lot of text to basically say target dummies and allowy tentacles don't grief Sona anymore. That's really what this is saying. Ethereal and concussive Sona
excellent.
Training dummies at all. And the healing Sona will only heal if there's nothing else to heal. So basically, she won't prioritize dummies and tentacles.
Okay, this is good change. I really like quality of life stuff. In fact, they probably have a few more things like this where targeting issues is griefed. I don't think Ezreal really needed a buff. Also, part of the reason why is because I'm not entirely sure how people have been itemizing Ezreal, but more and more as I watch top players, they're actually just building straight up AD, like Deathblade GSIE on Ezreal, and that scales with like this like pretty aggressively with big shots. And so this might seem small, but it actually could be a large change. But I know a lot of people still like build like the red buff, blue buff, like IE build, which is like lower damage. It's just one of those things. This actually might be a large change, and Ezreal could be like really good.
And then finally, bug fixes. A lot of bug fixes. Like I said, now that we're back, we could fix a lot of bugs. So here we go.
Oh, that's it?
Emotional Connection now no longer reduces your unit's max mana to 10 the first time you take the augment. Radiant Gnasher's Tooth now correctly grants attack speed on cast to Twisted Fate. Lucian's number of shots correctly scales the displayed tooltip amount.
Oh, I've heard about this bug. Actually, I didn't even know this was a thing until someone said pay attention to it the first time you take Emotional Connection. But yeah, apparently the first round you would play Emotional Connection, you would just like destroy whoever else you played because something like this.
Scales 1 shot per 20 instead of 1 shot per 40. This is a Lucian buff. You should be aware Lucian will now be even better with attack speed. So this is a buff to Lucian. But here come some other minor changes. Gnasher's Tooth will apply attack speed before Lucian's cast rather than after. So that means
buff?
Gnasher's actually gives him that attack speed during the ult. And then finally, this one's kind of, not many people saw this, but when it happened, it's really funny.
What the heck? I didn't even realize this was the case.
5.0 attack speed. If you ever want to go look at a video of triple Ginsu's Lucian, it's pretty funny when it gets going.
Now scales 1 shot per 20.
Thresh can now properly damage CC immune units. No more cheesing Thresh 3s with your QSS. So Thresh can actually.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Akali no longer sometimes messes with non-Akali's headliner traits. For those of you that have seen like KDA Yasuo headliner bug, that's this. True damage Akali can no longer bypass
I don't know
the
what this
3-star
is.
forecast rule. Cool. Scrappy Inventions now gives components as intended. Sometimes there was a bug where it didn't. When superfans pop off
I've seen
items,
this.
those items now return to your bench at the appropriate speed.
Oh,
No more waiting 20 seconds for your items to get there.
Quality of life change.
Salvage Bin can no longer grant a spatula as its random component. Sorry.
Do you guys know that Salvage Bin was a straight up banned augment in China in tournaments because of this possibility? There's tournaments where in China, if you pick Salvage Bin, you automatically go 8th, and they let every competitor know. This is how big of a problem that CN thought it was, because granting a random spatula is like just kind of OP. But that sucks because that means you get Salvage Bin, you have to reroll it. That means you're down an augment, I guess, for your choices.
Sorry, it was fun, but it shouldn't and it never should have. So the disco ball is no longer permanently deleted by Recombobulator. Heart steals 3,000 plus heart cash out for those of you that have ever hit it.
It's such a funny bug.
Now has the correct odds for each cash out. And all Squink's head no longer explodes in size when spamming taunt animation. So there you go.
Oh, they nerfed Squink emotes?
Patch. You're kind of going to see this ebb and flow typically in the sets where there might be a large patch, then a small patch or two, then a large patch, then a small patch or two. So yeah, but hopefully, again, the goal here is to just kind of bring down the top a little, buff up a few that are struggling, fix a few issues.
Buff a few that are struggling, like Ezreal.
I don't expect things to radically change.
One of the best carries in the game.
The biggest change there, like I said, is maybe like TF, Twin Terror. Those are kind of the big ones. So there you go. All right. That's gonna do it for me.
Okay. Let's see. So let's go over. I mean, it did feel like a smaller patch because I was like going through. Oops, sorry. It did feel like a smaller patch because I felt like I was going through stuff. Like a lot of these are just like quality of life changes, like text and whatnot. Portal, the headliner change, I'm like kind of on, but I guess I like the portal changes. I mean, I think it's good that they removed that the headliner rule. Disco, big time nerf. I don't want disco. Okay, so the thing is they nerfed disco and they nerfed Twisted Fate, its viability outside of disco. I'm not sure about that. Monster, 6 Monster. I mean, 6 Monster doesn't feel good. That makes sense. Punks in general is still kind of a meme. You don't really play it at high level, which I guess now they still want people to consider a little bit more often. So now, I mean, this is a pretty big buff. This probably puts Jinx at like a really high pick rate for headliner now. She's very, very good, especially if you have items for her. Also, they buffed super fans, which is nice. Don't really know what to think about the KO change. Just need to try it. But I think attack speed KO probably is pretty good. Katarina change is potentially really big as well. But I don't know. She's a crowd diver, and I respect crowd diver DPS output a lot, especially if you hit Katarina 3 early. But maybe she's a meme. This Lulu change is actually really scary. But overall, I think I approve of these changes. Like in general, like they want to make Urgot better. Like in concept, they want to make Urgot like more reliable, Riven worse, Vex worse. I don't actually think Lulu needs a buff personally, but I don't know if you guys saw my stream the other day where I played Lulu 3 and I hit her pretty early and I actually proceeded to like lose barely every single fight into a 5th place. But I think that was because I was going up against like, you know, like 3-star Yone and 3-star Riven and stuff like that. And like I didn't win rounds, but like I lost barely. Maybe it ends up swinging the other way. Now Lulu ends up winning a lot of those fights. Who knows? Karthus reworks, too hard to say, but I'm glad that they're trying because I'm pretty sure Karthus is like the least like champion in this set. Karthus in general, his champion design is like kind of not fun. For a lot of people who aren't playing Karthus. It's fun for the Karthus players. It's not really fun for the non-Karthus players. I'm not a fan of it. I don't know. Is there anybody in the chat who's like, man, this change makes me quit. I love Karthus. He's like my favorite champion. No one. All right. TF nerf. I'm not a big fan of. I do like nerf to Yone. I don't feel like they nerfed enough Yone, but we'll see. Kaisa probably didn't also need this this headliner buff, but even within Kaisa reroll, you're actually playing around Bard a lot because you don't really want Kaisa's traits, and Bard actually gives you like scaling, so you have like Kaisa 3 to hold your mid game, and then you have Bard for your late game. Maybe this ends up making Kaisa better. If anything, this actually makes Kaisa headliner like really good in the mid game. Like if anything, this makes Kaisa like an insane holder for like Ezreal because they buffed Ezreal, right? Like as you go like the big shot ladder from like Corki, Kaisa, Misfortune, Ezreal, like that's just like so smooth now because they buffed everyone. Let's see. And then augment changes. I'm excited for Twin Terror. I think it's a fun augment. I actually think that some Twin Terror games that I've played that were off meta were some of the most fun I've had so far this past patch. And I've not really had fun with like Twin Terror if I'm just playing executions because it's kind of boring. So I think that. And all these are like kind of reasonable. They're like buffing Jax and they're buffing Submit to the Pit, but maybe it's not good enough. But either way, they're trying to make Jax like kind of more playable because Jax kind of sucks. And then they're actually buffing 6 Moshers, right? So maybe this ends up being good. Submit to the Pit, and then you just play like 6 Moshers. We'll see. Good nerf. I'm a little bit sad about this nerf actually, but it's like they buffed Heartsteel a lot, so like these gloves is gonna be a little bit worse. And then everyone's saying that Corgi's not that big of a deal, so okay, I'll stand corrected on that. And then Yasuo's like reasonable, Jax is reasonable, Lily's reasonable. Olaf, if anything, Olaf could probably take a little bit of a small nerf to his headliner specifically. Yeah, and everything about that, like I can see that's why he considers it a small change. All right. What do we think? Let's run a poll real quick. Verdicts on the patch. Thumbs up. Thumbs down. Abstained. Okay, I'll just write Ta if you want to abstain. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys think of the patch. Okay, so after this patch rundown, thank you, Mort. Good job. And if you guys don't know, like Mort's actually putting most of the heavy lifting on this set, so like he's doing a lot of good work to try and make sure everything's good. And I kind of agree that set 10 is like pretty close. Like if you actually look at the team builder, like every unit is pretty close to playable under the right circumstances. If you actually think about it, and especially like this area where at one point we weren't playing Olaf, we weren't playing like a lot of Vi and stuff like that. So like it's fine. The 2 costs could use some love and they target the right ones like Jax and Katarina. But like it's not like we want Senna to be like much better now. Twitch is with like Vex is still like okay, but like they nerfed the stun time, which is fine. But like I'm pretty sure like all these units are like playable. So if you're like, man, it's not, I wanted a big patch, like in reality, like set 10 kind of almost is like done, if that makes sense. Like it is what it is at this point. They need to get balanced, like completely fine-tuned, but the only thing that's probably like slightly controversial is that they didn't like buff Caitlyn, but I'm pretty sure that Caitlyn and Jhin, like these are 2 units that are like doing terrible in the data. It could be like the meta being bad for them. Let's go like Masters Plus past 2 days, and you see like Jhin is a 4.32, which is actually quite terrible for a 5 cost. And then Caitlyn's a 4. Actually, 4.55 is not even that terrible. But that's because she gets dragged up by Riven. We did a fun exercise the other day, which was like you play Caitlyn and they just remove Riven, and she averages a literal 5. So Caitlyn by herself is not particularly great. Not particularly really great. But it could be that like Karthus and Akali and all of them are just like trolling her too much. But then, like, if Karthus ends up being good again, doesn't that just mean that she's still back to where she was before? So there's also the possibility where you have Caitlyn to be like kind of in the same territory as Viego. I don't know if you guys have figured it out yet, but if you hit the reason why a lot of these like Riven 2 and Yone 2 boards are like bananas on stage 4, and you're like, it must be combat augments, right? It's like it's part of that, but then if they hit Viego 2 and they put items on Viego 2, this unit is actually just disgusting. And if you like nerf Riven, but you like buff Caitlyn, it could be one of the same things where it's like the Riven player is optimized by playing Caitlyn too, and then it's just like, wow, it turns out like not a big deal because you just hit Caitlyn, and then all of a sudden you're just like crushing everybody. You can check Caitlyn with TD spat. I mean, I'm not your personal. What do you think I am? Chat GPT just answering all your TFT data questions? I mean, I will look it up though. Like it takes like 10 seconds, man. 4.63.